I wanted to give you an update on the SGRA's annual lake lowering program and ask for your help in some areas. So last night I attended a meeting of the LCA. The LCA is a organization that was founded to advocate for the lake and try to protect its public interest. The LCA is the primary group that has been opposing the lowering of Lake Conroe. The LCA reached out to 61 POAs around the lake. They asked them to send representatives. Out of the 61 they reached out to, only 21 responded and sent representatives last night. Notably absent was Walden and Point Aquarius. Todd Lee and myself attended the meeting last night representing Grand Harbor. During the meeting, the LCA educated us on the current status of the lake lowering, the motivations of the people, and asked us for some help in this fight. So for those that are not in the loop as to what's occurring and why, during Hurricane Harvey, significant flooding happened downstream of Conroe. After the hurricane, an organized group of individuals in the Kingwood area called the Plea for Three began pressuring our politicians to force SGRA to lower the full pool of the lake by 3 feet. Bending under the pressure, Governor Abbott appointed 2 members from the Kingwood area to the SGRA board. Once the newly installed board met, they implemented a program to lower the lake 1 foot in the spring and 2 foot in the summer. The initial plan was stated as temporary only for 2018 until the downstream dredging of the San Jacinto River could be completed. So a few quick facts. Conroe came up 5.5 feet during Harvey. That's over twice of the last historic rise that had happened before Harvey. The stormwater that came out of Conroe was only 15% of the peak flow, and it was less than 13% of the total volume. And Harvey was not just a massive 500-year storm, it was historic for the entire United States. Quick refresher on the water level. Typically, early part of the year, we're at normal pool. They drain a foot in the spring. We usually get back to pool sometime in July. And then they again drain 2 feet in the late part of the summer, early fall. And this is where, particularly in Grand Harbor and the canal system, we essentially turn our canals into ditches where they're unusable. So quick overview. This is the interior canals of Grand Harbor. Again, red is passable only by a small boat. Purple, just about nothing can get through. And as you can see, what that means is that during this time period, we typically don't have good access anywhere in the interior canals. Some small boats in some places can get out, but any larger boat is going to really struggle to get out. And again, this is actually pretty close to where we are from a water level standpoint right now. So in 2019, the board met again, and they voted to institute the same program that they did in 2018. The vote was 5-1, 5 yes, 1 no. All references to the word temporary have now been changed to seasonal. The use of the temporary term was clearly just done to placate the residents of the lake so that we wouldn't protest. The dredging of the San Jacinto has been completed. The funds that were given to them by FEMA to remove Harvey debris have been spent. So the dredging is now done, but the lowering continues. So why is this continuing and why is it potentially getting worse? Well, Kingwood is very organized. They're sending letters all the time. A lot of people keep bringing up the flood 2 months ago when Kingwood flooded and there were no releases from Conroe. Well, Kingwood actually sent letters to SGRA en masse, thanking them for lowering Conroe, thanking them for not making the flooding worse during that event by having Conroe below full pool, even though we got no water in the Conroe watershed and there were no releases from Conroe. So the residents of the lake have been very apathetic in opposing this. The SGRA doesn't get letters from them. People aren't showing up. This is evident even from the meeting last night where only 21 of the 61 POAs on the lake showed up. So who is the board? So there's 7 residents of the board, or there's 7 members of the board. 3 from the Conroe area, 2 that are lakefront, 2 that are from Kingwood, and 2 from the Channelview area. So what's the plan for 2020? Well, the decision will be made on February 27th. That's when they'll vote on the plan. Without significant pressure, they will likely either continue the 1 foot, 2 foot drain they're doing now, or possibly even extend it or drain additional water, given how much positive feedback they get from Kingwood and how little negative feedback they get from the lake. Remember, the original request that Kingwood asked for was 3 foot year round. They're getting big props down in Kingwood for doing this. They're essentially going back as heroes that are saving Kingwood from flooding. So what can we do? Well, there's 3 meetings coming up that we'll need residents to attend. We also need people to write letters. The SRA is getting a lot more letters for doing this than against, and we need you to send emails if possible. So if you're going to write a letter, you can see the address here. We want this to be a personal, from the heart letter. It needs to look as an individual letter and not as a form letter, but there are some points you can think about when you write your letter. You can emphasize that you didn't protest before because you were told it was temporary and just until the dredging was done. Well, the dredging is done, so it should be over. The levels are arbitrary, excessive. There is no scientific study that says if they do this, it's going to save Kingwood from another Harvey. Recent events are showing that, look, Conroe is being unfairly blamed. Kingwood's still flooded, even though we didn't release anything from Conroe. Also think about the waste of water. Water is very expensive in Texas. You know, the primary purpose of this lake was a backup water supply for Houston, and we're releasing tens of billions of gallons of fresh drinking water out into the Gulf of Mexico that one day we could need. In addition, this is doing major damage to the wildlife. A lot of wildlife activity happens in the shallows. Bass spawn there, fish spawn there, you know, all the bird sanctuaries, all that stuff is being destroyed. And the thing to think about making sure they understand as well is it's not 2 foot from 200. They're thinking, okay, we're taking it from 201 to 199. That doesn't sound like a lot, right? But that's 201 above sea level. That's not 201 feet. And in Grand Harbor, that 2 foot is really 2 foot from 4 foot. So they're taking a navigable waterway that allows you to get to the lake and turning it into a ditch. And I think you need to emphasize that. Also, there is a way to send an email to them. Unfortunately, they do not publish their email addresses directly, but if you visit the SRA website, you can select Board of Directors at the top and then scroll down to the bottom, and there's a dialog box that allows you to submit comments to them. So the upcoming meetings, they're held at the dam site that's behind Shooter Station. Fortunately, the meetings are at 8 a.m., which, you know, puts it right in the work time period for most of the residents that still work. But I'm going to take time off work to show up. We really need some articulate residents to be there to voice opinions. We just need bodies also, so that when they look out there, they see people they know are in opposition to this. They're held on the 3rd floor. So the first upcoming meeting is the 12th. This is just an SRA board meeting. We really want to get significant resident participation there. There's 15 minutes of time on their agenda to allow for residents to speak in opposition, and we really need to use that. On the 23rd, the LCA has an organized presentation they're doing. They have reached out to various business owners around the lake, the guys that run the big paddle wheel boat, and some of the fishing organizations around the lake. And they're going to present that on January 23rd. We won't have time for residents to speak, but again, we need them to see those bodies there. February 27th, there is going to be the final meeting, which will be when they vote on the plan. And we need to show up so that when they look out there and they cast that vote, they know all of the people that they're going to be aggravating. If you have any additional questions about what transpired at the meeting, you have suggestions, you're interested in helping, please send me an email. You know, we really, really need your help here. We need you to take 30 minutes, write that letter, help us fight for our property here in Grand Harbor. The lake is key to Grand Harbor, and if this continues, it's going to do irreparable damage to our neighborhood. Please, please write a letter, send an email. If you can at all attend, please attend one of those meetings. And please reach out to me if you have any suggestions or you want to help. Thank you.